specific to the dashboard setting. Depending on the role you have, you're brought to the different views. So if you have an admin role, you're brought to the admin side. If you have an employee role, you're brought to the employee side, and then the manager role. This is where you can go and set up what appears on those dashboards globally. If you need to get granular with that, you can go to the roles and permissions and narrow down who sees what. But this is where you would pull in everything that you want available. So if I click into here, you're going to see it's broken out by the different portals. So here's your admin, here's your manager, here's your employee. And then if you remember when we were in People Central, there's that talent dashboard. So this is where you would determine what you want them to see. So this is currently what's displayed on the admin dashboard. So if I click in here right now, just so you can see, here's your task bar, your activity trends, welcome message, schedule, process status. So if I go back into system configuration and back into the dashboard settings, you can change this if you want. So if you click edit, you can determine what of these tiles you want. If you decide the welcome message isn't necessary for the administrative side, you can remove that. If you decide the activity trends isn't relevant, you can remove that. And then you'll also see there's these little buttons here, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And that's because if we go back to the dashboard, you have the ability to view the information on certain tiles via weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And the way it defaults is based on how you set it in those dashboard settings. So currently we have it set to weekly. So it's going to show you weekly how people are completing the task, like are there certain days that they're completing it, etc. Then if you'd rather see it by monthly, you can do that as well. So this is where you can go under system configuration and tell the system, I want it to default to monthly instead of weekly, or quarterly instead of monthly. So you can determine the information displayed most beneficial to you. And again, with the schedule, because the schedule will basically show you, this is my process. It's starting on the 13th. It shows you every day. So if I go to the week, it shows the 13th. If I go to the month, then you can see here, it also pulls in that it's ending on the 31st. So you can see all this information. And again, you can decide which option is more helpful to you. If the default should be by the month, you can do that, or by the week, if you just want to see every week what's going on in the system, you can do that. So again, you can determine the information that you want here. And then if I go to the employee role, this is currently how the employee role is going to look. So if I wanted to take a look at that, I can go to the Global Admins portal, employee portal, and I would see that information. So this is how it looks right now. Here's the taskbar, team view, all this information here. You can see welcome messages on the bottom. So if I go back to my admin view, I can make changes on that. So I could say, okay, I want to change this around a little. I think the welcome message should come up further at the top of the dashboard because it's lost at the bottom. So I can move it up and say, okay, it's going to be all the way at the top. And then I can type something in here, whatever I want to let my end users know. If there's a process starting, I can give them that information. Hey, your mid-year reviews are going to start soon, start thinking about that. You can put that in there. Here, team view, goals, development plan activities. If you're not using goals and development plans, you can remove that. Or if certain people have goals and development plans, but some don't, enable it globally, and then under the roles and permissions, you can remove that from them. And another nice thing you can do is you can rename these tiles. So currently you can see it says welcome message, schedule, team view. So if you'd rather it display differently, you can do that. So I could say notes, I could say alerts, anything that I want there. And then I can save that. And now once I save that, and I go back into the portal, you'll be able to update all this information. And then when the end users go in, they'll see all this information here. And again, you can remove anything that you want. Now, if I take a look at the talent dashboard, this is specific to the individuals. So if I go back into People Central and say we go into Adela's profile again, this is that talent dashboard. So this is what you can determine the tiles that are relevant to anybody that is accessing a Deloge record. So if you assign somebody to evaluate her and you pull in this dashboard, they'll be able to see the tiles that you've enabled via the dashboard settings. And again, then you can go back to those granular settings, the permissions, and determine what specifically individuals can access. But this is where you would set it up globally, what you want. You have your tiles. Reviews are just prior evaluations. If you want them to see the client matters, if you want them to see, a chart on their goals or development plans, you can do that as well. And then specific to CE Manager, if the firm has an integration or they have both, and say they have CE Manager and Top Performance, you can enable an integration between the two, and the system will pull information from CE Manager into Top Performance. So it'll pull in their compliance reports. So when they're evaluating them, they'll be able to see how they're doing in their compliance reports with their licenses. You can see what courses they've taken. Then you also have this dashboard tile here where you can add additional items here. So you can pull in learning tracks, recommendations. If you use the relationships, you can see the team view, salary and accounting. This is where the billable, non-billable hours would be. You also have the ability to give access to attachments to your end users if you pull that tile in. So you can update the talent dashboard with any specific information that is relevant to anybody evaluating that person. And then similar to when we were looking at the admin and the employee, for certain tiles, you have the ability to select the default time frame that the data is going to be displayed in. So you can do 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. For prior reviews, you can do 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. A lot of times they'll pick 12 months because they may only do reviews once a year. So if it loads on 3 months, there's no information there. So if it loads on 12 months, it'll show the prior evaluations that have been done on that person. And then you can just click save and that'll update. You can see it'll default and show 12 months worth of data. So this is where you would go globally to set up those dashboards for how you want them to display in the system. Then the last thing under preferences is portal settings. And this is specific to the manager role. So when you're setting up and assigning people to the manager role, if they have relationships tied to them. So if you remember from People Central, that relationship section here, where they can have somebody that they report to, coached by, mentored by, or if they're managing people, all these relationships. If you assign a manager role to an employee, that person can then see specific information based on those relationships. So if I click into here right now, you can see for the manager portal, there's 2 options here. So tasks and reviews. Tasks are what the individuals are working on themselves. So if they're completing self-evals, if they're completing solicitations, if they have goals, etc. And then team reviews is anything that's being completed on them. Like we said before, Jane wants evaluation from Joe. The manager would be able to come in here and see what Joe is saying about Jane. And if I click edit, this is where you can tell the system what relationships the manager would be able to see when they log into their portal. Is it only the people that report directly to them? Is it people that they mentor? Is it people they coach? Is it any additional people that they manage? Matrix reports, who reports to them secondarily. So you can enable all this information here, and then when the manager logs into the portal, they'll be able to see the information based on these specifications here under the manager portal. So here's Jonathan, and here you can see these people report directly to him. So all these people are his direct reports. Now, under the performance section here, this is all specific to Jonathan. So these are Jonathan's goals, Jonathan's development plans, Jonathan's tasks, if he has any surveys that he has to do. But now you see there's this team view here. And this is where he would access information specific to his team. And if I expand the team performance, team tasks and team reviews, this is what would be determined by this setting. So however you update the information to display, that's what Jonathan would see. He would see his team, the tasks that they're working on based on direct reports, coaching, mentoring, etc. He would be able to see that information here. So if you only assign direct reports, he would only see that information when he goes into his team view.